I still wake up before the sun, reach for the side where you used to sleep. The coffee pot makes too much noise, and silence answers back to me. I kept your jacket by the door, your favorite mug is on the shelf. Everybody says move on, but I can't be somebody else. I drive the roads we always drove, past the diner by Route 9. The waitress asks me how I've been, I lie and say I'm doing fine. They think I'm waiting for a call, or praying you'll come back someday. I let them keep believing that it's easier that way. If I could have one more sunrise, one more morning by your side, I'd tell you every little thing I buried deep inside. I'd hold your hand a little longer, I wouldn't waste a single day. I'd give my whole life just to hear you laugh and say my name. Still mow the grass on Sundays, even though nobody sees. I fix the porch light when it breaks, and rake the leaves beneath the trees. The neighbors wave when I walk by, their smiles are careful, soft and slow. Some days they almost say your name, then stop because they know. I found a letter in the attic, hidden in an old shoebox. You wrote about a future home with flowers lining up the blocks. You said we'd grow old side by side and watch our hair turn gray. I folded up those fragile dreams and put them back away. If I could have one more sunrise, one more morning by your side, I'd tell you every little thing I buried deep inside. I'd hold your hand a little longer, I wouldn't waste a single day. I'd give my whole life just to hear you laugh and say my name. People think I lost you suddenly, like some cruel twist I couldn't fight. But the truth is harder than that. I watched you fading every night. I watched machines replace your laughter, I learned the rhythm of your pain. I smiled when you looked up at me, then cried alone in pouring rain. You begged me not to break beside you, said promise me you'll live somehow. I nodded like I really could, but I was lying then and now, because tomorrow marks a year since I held your trembling hand and whispered through my shattered voice, it's okay, you don't have to stay. The sunrise wasn't ours to share, it was the first one without you. Still I wake up before the sun and reach across the empty space. For half a second I forget that memories flood the place. But every morning that I rise, I hear the promise I once made to keep on living for us both, though part of me still stays. So I step outside at dawn and let the light fall on my face, because loving you forever means learning how to stay. Some hearts survive by learning to greet one more sunrise alone.
You still remember the night you left? The airport was too bright for a goodbye. People rushed everywhere, living their own stories, and there we were. You held my hand so tightly, I thought maybe love was enough. You smiled, but your eyes were already breaking. You said 2 years, just 2 years, and I'll come back. I nodded, 'cause loving someone sometimes means pretending you're not terrified. The first months felt easy. We called every morning. You showed me your tiny apartment, the rain outside your window. I showed you my days, my job, my dog, the coffee shop we loved. We said, I miss you, until the words lost their meaning. But missing someone never gets smaller. It grows quietly, like an empty chair, like reaching for your phone before opening your eyes, like hearing good news and realizing the first person you want to tell is asleep 6,000 miles away. Then things changed. You were always tighter, I was always waiting. Calls became shorter, messages came later. I told myself it was temporary, but love notices what people avoid. I stopped talking about the future. Every conversation became a test. Are you okay? Of course. Do you still love me? Neither of us answered honestly. I was angry, your dreams took you away. You were afraid coming home would mean losing them. One night we argued about time, about missed calls, about sacrifices. Then you asked if I never left, would you respect me less? I couldn't answer, I loved your courage. I hated what it cost us sometimes. The person you love becomes someone the world needs. Months passed, we kept trying. Birthdays on screens, falling asleep with the phone beside us. But trying isn't always enough. The last call came on a Sunday. You looked older, so did I. You said, I don't want breathing, just remembering. Then you whispered goodbye, and I watched the screen go dark. People think heartbreak is losing someone. Sometimes it's loving them enough to let them become who they were meant to be, even when it means they can't come back. Some distances are crossed by planes, others never end.
I still remember that old bedroom light. You'd stay awake, drawing airplanes all night. Crayons on your fingers, dreams bigger than the room. Saying one day I'll fly farther than the moon. I laughed and called you crazy every time. You'd take paper wings and run the hallway line. Mom would shake her head, Dad would just smile. You kept chasing clouds in your own little style. Then years went by like pages in the wind. I got busy trying hard to fit in. You never stopped talking about the sky, and I never asked what was behind your eyes. You'd call me late saying I'm almost there. I heard the hope hiding under your fear, but I was too tired, too wrapped up in me, never seeing things I didn't wanna see. Paper wings, paper dreams, holding on to impossible things. You kept saying, watch me rise, with that fire burning in your eyes. Paper wings, don't let go, even when the cold winds blow. I believe you touch the sun someday. I just thought we'd have more time to wait. You stopped coming home around July. Said you needed space, said you'd be alright. Mom kept your room exactly the same. Dad pretended not to mention your name. I drove by places we used to know, the basketball court, the old corner store. Everyone kept asking where you'd been. I kept saying he's finding himself again. But something felt strange every now and then, like your voice was fading inside my head. Your number stayed saved, I never erased. Though months passed slowly, without a trace. I wrote messages I never sent, telling you how much our childhood meant, how I was sorry for every missed sign. How I wished I could turn back time. Paper wings, paper dreams, holding on to impossible things. You kept saying, watch me rise, with that fire burning in your eyes. Paper wings, don't let go, even when the cold winds blow. I believe you touch the sun someday. I just thought we'd have more time to wait. Yesterday I opened your closet door, found a dusty box hidden on the floor. Stacks of drawings covered every page, paper airplanes folded by your age. And underneath them a hospital band, a letter I could barely hold in my hands. It said, if you're reading this, I already know. You still tell yourself I chose to go, but I was scared and I couldn't stay. The sickness took my strength away. I asked you once if you'd remember me. You laughed and said you'll outlive everybody. I held those words till my final night, pretending my paper wings could still fly. I dropped to my knees and finally cried, 'cause all these years I'd rewritten your life. You never left to chase some distant sky. You were teaching me how to say goodbye. Paper wings, paper dreams, and now I know what all this means. You weren't trying to touch the sun, you just wanted to feel like everyone. Paper wings, soft and torn, I still hear you every morn, in every plane that rides the breeze, carries a piece of you to me. I spent years waiting for you to come home. The coffee's cold, it's almost 10. Your jacket's still there on the chair again. I tell myself you'll walk right in, complain about the traffic and where you've been. I keep your number on my phone, though everybody says I should move on. I laugh and say they're all confused. You just need time, that's all you need to do. Every Friday I buy 2 meals, leave one untouched to make it feel real. The waitress smiles but looks away, like she's afraid of what I might say. I drive the roads we used to know, past the church, the park, the old corner store. And every light that turns to green feels like a sign you're coming back to me. Tomorrow still waits, that's what I say. say, one more sunrise, one more day. I hold on tight to what remains. If hope is foolish, let me stay the same. Tomorrow still waits. I hear your name inside the silence, inside the pain. And if you're lost, I'll do the same. Tomorrow still waits. Mom keeps asking if I've slept. Dad just sighs and changes subjects. Friends invite me out at night, but crowded rooms don't feel alright. There's dust collecting by the door on shoes you haven't worn anymore. I almost moved them once away, then spent an hour putting them back in place. The neighbors whisper when I pass. They think I don't notice when they act strange, like they're protecting me somehow, like there's a truth I won't allow. Some nights I swear I hear your keys, the little sound that always rescued me. I run downstairs, I call your name and hate myself for hoping all the same. Tomorrow still waits, that's what I say. One more sunrise, one more day. I save your seat, I keep the faith. I tell the world you're just delayed. Tomorrow still waits, though time has changed. I wear my smile like it's not fake. And if I break, don't look away. Tomorrow still waits. Last week I found your old voicemail. I played it till my hands began to shake. You said, don't cry if I get lost. Promise me you'll keep living anyway. I never understood those words. I thought you meant a bad day, nothing more. But then I opened up the box I hid behind the closet door. You watch the folded flag, the picture from that summer by the lake. And suddenly I couldn't lie, not to myself, not one more day. You never left me waiting, you never lost your way. I was the one refusing to accept you couldn't stay. Tomorrow still waits, but now I know some doors close softly and won't reopen anymore. I cried for years, pretending hope was stronger than the truth I couldn't hold. Tomorrow still waits, and that's what you meant. I'll look above, because tomorrow still waits, and so does love. Sometimes healing begins the day you stop waiting. I wake up every morning before the sun is out, coffee in a paper cup, same jacket inside out. I take the bus across the city while everybody sleeps, a face among 100 faces no one ever keeps. I clean the floors on office towers 40 stories high, empty desks with family photos smiling as I pass by. I know the names of all the kids from pictures on the wall, but no one knows my birthday, if they know me at all. My mother calls on Sundays, asking if I eat. I tell her everything is fine. Though money's getting weak, she says she worries all the time. I say don't be afraid, but after hanging up the phone, I cry beside the sink. I had dreams when I was younger, everybody does. Thought I'd build a different life, become somebody once. But years go by in tiny steps, nobody celebrates, and somehow all your biggest plans become the bills you pay. Nobody sees me carry this weight. Nobody knows how close I came to breaking. I smile when they ask me if I'm doing okay, then walk back home pretending I still know my place. Nobody sees the nights I stay awake, counting every dollar that I haven't made. I disappear inside the crowd each day, but I'm still here. I'm still here. Last December, Dad got sick and couldn't work again. The doctor spoke in quiet words that I could barely stand. I started taking extra shifts, stopped sleeping like before, and every month I sent back home a little something more. I missed my nephew's birthday and my sister's wedding day. Watched the videos alone while riding on the train. People said you're such a fighter, like it made things fair. But strength is just a word you use when no one else is there. One night I came home exhausted, shoes still on my feet, and found an old cardboard box hidden underneath my bed sheets. Inside were all my notebooks from when I was 17, stories full of hope and plans written carefully. I sat there till the morning, reading every page. The boy I used to be was asking what had changed. I wanted to say sorry, wanted to explain, but all I could do was whisper, I'm trying every day. Nobody sees me carry this weight. Nobody knows how close I came to breaking. I smile when they ask me if I'm doing okay, then walk back home pretending I still know my place. Nobody sees the nights I stay awake, wondering if sacrifice is worth the pain. I disappear inside the crowd each day, but I'm still here. I'm still here. Then one afternoon my mother called me crying. Dad was sitting in the garden, smiling for the first time. He asked her for the phone and said with shaking hands, I know you gave up pieces of yourself to help this family stand. I wish you had an easier road, I wish the world had seen your heart. But son, some people save a life without becoming stars. I couldn't speak, I couldn't move. I stood there in the middle of the street while strangers walked around me and tears ran down my cheeks. Maybe being seen was never the whole story. Maybe loving people through the hardest years was something bigger than glory. Nobody sees every battle I've survived. Nobody knows how many times I've cried, but the people I love are still alive, and somehow that's enough tonight. ignored my name, but my sacrifices kept my family alive. My brother left in August, just 2 bags and an old blue coat. Mom stood quiet by the doorway. Dad kept staring at the floor. He said, I'll send back every dollar. Give me time, I'll make it right. He hugged me hard beside his truck and disappeared into the night. I was 16, angry at everything. Thought he just wanted to run away. I didn't know the jobs he'd take or how much pride he'd have to trade. The calls got shorter every winter. Sometimes months would pass in silence. Mom pretended not to worry, but I heard her crying in the kitchen. When we meet again, will your hair be gray? Will your hands still shake from carrying too much weight? Will you laugh the same or hide behind that smile? So many years went by and we've been waiting all this time. Dad got sick around Thanksgiving. Couldn't work the way he used to. Bills piled up across the table. Every month a little harder. And then envelopes began arriving. Cash inside of notes that said, buy his medicine first. Don't tell him I skipped meals again. Mom read those lines 100 times, folded them inside her Bible. I finally saw my brother clearly, not the kid who drove away. He worked nights washing dishes, slept in rooms with strangers nearby, missed birthdays, missed Christmas mornings, kept our family standing somehow. Did you keep your dreams or trade them day by day? I wish I said before I was proud of you all along. Then one spring the letters stopped, no calls, no money, nothing. Mom sat by the living room window every evening after dinner. Dad walked slower than before, never asking questions out loud. I searched old photos in the attic, found one from when we were kids. 2 boys covered up in mud, laughing like the world was ours. I kept thinking of our last goodbye. Never thanked him. How I thought sacrifice was weakness. How young people confuse love with skin. 3 years later on a rainy Tuesday, someone knocked around noon. I opened up the front door slowly. There he was, thinner, eyes tired from too many years, but smiling. Mom dropped the bowl she carried. Dad cried for the very first time. Nobody spoke for almost a minute. Then he said, I'm sorry it took me so long. I just wanted to come home with enough so none of you would ever struggle again. When we meet again, don't wait to say the words. Some heroes never wear glory, they just carry everyone else. Time can steal the years, but not the love we give. The greatest sacrifices are often the quiet ones. Some people leave to survive and spend their lives finding their way back. I hadn't seen our street in 20 years, and not since the day we drove away. The factory closed without a warning, and Dad's old smile began to fade. Mom cleaned rooms, Dad fixed old engines. Both came home too tired to speak. Still every Sunday he'd unfold a map and whisper dreams we'd someday keep. He'd point back to our little hometown and say we'll walk those streets once more. I never thought that day would come, but he kept hope inside his heart. I grew up and left for college, while Dad grew older year by year. Then one winter he got sick and said, "Take me back while I'm still here." We drove those roads together, Mom beside him holding tears. When we reached our old neighborhood, he smiled through all those silent tears. He touched the fence, the cracked old sidewalk, laughed about the days I'd known, then softly said, "I feared I'd failed you, but I did the best I could." I couldn't answer through the silence, seeing all he'd sacrificed. Every mile he'd carried for us was written in his weary eyes. A month later he was gone, quiet as the falling rain. Now I return there every summer, and I finally understand. Home isn't where you stay, It's what you carry when everything else is gone.
I've gotten good at saying I'm okay before anyone can ask me twice. I smile at work, I laugh at jokes, I keep the conversation light. And everybody seems to think I'm doing better than I am. But there are things I never say because I know they won't understand. It's strange how you can sit with people and still feel completely alone, listening to voices all around you while carrying things on your own. Sometimes I start explaining what's been heavy on my mind. Then I stop halfway through the sentence and say, never mind. When nobody gets it, you learn to keep it inside. You stop looking for the right words and just let the feelings hide. You tell yourself it's easier than being misunderstood. But some nights all you really want is for someone to say, I know. There are memories I replay while staring at the ceiling late, conversations I never had and chances that arrived too late. I wonder if the people close to me would see me differently if they knew how many thoughts I carry quietly. Maybe I don't need solutions, maybe I don't need advice. Maybe I'm just tired of feeling like I have to translate my life. Maybe all this loneliness isn't coming from being alone. Maybe it comes from having a heart that never feels fully known. When nobody gets it, the silence starts to grow. You become your own listener because there's nowhere else to go. And every hidden piece of you keeps waiting in the dark, hoping one day someone stays long enough to see your heart. So I keep walking through these days, saying less than what is true, still hoping somewhere in this world there's someone feeling this way too. Maybe we've passed each other already, maybe we never knew. Maybe the loneliest feeling is having so much to say and nowhere it can land. The hardest loneliness is feeling invisible while being seen. still remember that Tuesday night. The TV was on, but I wasn't watching. My phone was face down on the table, pretending I didn't care. We hadn't been the same for months. Long silences filled our days, small fights over nothing, and apologies that felt too late. You used to tell me everything, every bad day, every crazy dream. Then little by little I became the last person you called. I kept asking myself if love disappears all at once, or if it leaves quietly, one unanswered message at a time.
That night I texted first.
Are you okay?
A simple question, 2 blue checks, no answer. I waited an hour, then another. I walked around the apartment, opened the fridge 3 times, looked outside like somehow you would appear at my door.
I called you
Straight to voicemail.
I told myself not to panic. You were probably busy, maybe asleep, maybe angry. But deep down there was a fear I couldn't explain. Because the week before you cried in my car. You said, I'm tired of pretending I'm okay. I held your hand at the red light. I told you we'd get through it. I told you I wasn't going anywhere. You smiled, but it wasn't your smile anymore. And now my phone was silent.
I sent another message.
Please answer me.
Nothing.
I looked at our old photos, the beach in California, your birthday cake, that stupid selfie where we both looked terrible and laughed for 10 minutes. How do you go from being someone's whole world to staring at their name, hoping they remember you?
The clock kept moving.
Midnight, 1 a.m. And suddenly my phone rang. An unknown number. My hand started shaking before I even answered.
A stranger asked, do you know her?
And in that second my life split in two. I don't remember falling to the floor. I don't remember breathing. I only remember hearing we found her
The
phone.
room went quiet.
I wanted to scream, to say they were wrong, to wake up from whatever nightmare had swallowed me alive. But then they asked me something.
Was this message for you?
And they read your words.
I'm sorry.
I know I've been distant. I know I've been losing myself. But if tomorrow scares me again, I need you to know you were the best thing that ever happened to me. And none of this was your fault. I felt my heart break in places I didn't know existed. Because all night I kept waiting for your reply, without knowing that I had already become your last goodbye.
Years have passed. People say time heals. They're wrong. Time teaches you how to carry the pain without letting it crush you.
I still keep your number.
I still read that message when life feels too heavy. And sometimes I type,
I miss you. I never send it.
because some conversations end, but love keeps waiting for an answer. And the cruelest thing I've ever learned is this: sometimes the last message arrives after the person is already gone.
I still keep the old beach towel folded in the back of my closet. I haven't used it in years, but throwing it away feels wrong. Sometimes I wonder how a season can disappear, not from calendars, but from the way your heart remembers things. Back then, the days felt endless. We stayed outside until the streetlights came on, and nobody worried about running out of time. Now I watch kids riding bikes from my apartment window, and I try to remember when I stopped being one of them. I don't miss being young, at least that's what I tell myself. I miss believing that good things stay. I miss calling friends without thinking twice. I miss hearing my mother's voice before life got busy, before every conversation became I'll call you next week. There are pictures on my phone that I never look at, because I know exactly how they'll make me feel. The lake, the cheap fireworks, that broken radio in the car, your laugh mixing with mine like nothing bad could ever happen to us. It's strange, nobody warns you that one day you'll be nostalgic for things you didn't even notice while they were happening. The smell of sunscreen, wet grass after dark, ice melting too fast, a song playing softly in a room full of people you thought would always be there. I remember sitting outside alone one evening last July. The sky looked exactly the same, but something inside me knew I wasn't missing a person, I was missing a version of myself. The one who trusted tomorrow, the one who thought happiness was something permanent, the one who believed summer always came back. And maybe it does, but not the summer you keep searching for, not the nights that live only in your memory, not the people who slowly become stories. I've spent years trying to recreate that feeling, buying old records, driving familiar roads, returning to places that no longer recognize me. And every time I come home with the same quiet ache, because nostalgia isn't one in the past. It's realizing you can never be who you were when you loved it. Some summers end quietly, you don't notice until years later. I still leave the light on in the kitchen sometimes, even when I know nobody's coming home. It's strange the things you keep doing long after the reason is gone. Your mug is gone, your coat is gone, your voice faded from these walls. But somehow this house still waits for you more than I do. I sit down for dinner and catch myself looking up, like maybe you'll walk in late. Apologize, smile, say it was all a mistake. I don't even believe that anymore, but hope doesn't leave all at once. It hides in stupid little habits, in checking my phone twice, in listening for footsteps, in saving stories I have no one to tell. And there's this empty chair that nobody moves. I tell myself it's just furniture, just wood, just another thing in the room. But every morning I look at it, every night I avoid it, and somehow a quiet space can make a house feel so loud. I never knew absence could take up this much room. People ask if I'm doing okay. I always say, yeah, I'm getting there. I don't know where it is. Some days I laugh at something online and for a second forget. Then I remember, and the guilt arrives first. Like moving on means I loved you less. Like healing is betrayal. I know that's not true. At least I think I know. But grief isn't logical. It sneaks up while folding laundry, while driving nowhere, while hearing a song I never even liked. And suddenly I'm missing not only who you were, but who I was when you were here. There's still this air chair waiting beside me. Not because you're coming back, not because miracles happen, just because I haven't learned how to stop making room for you. I try to fill my days, I try to fill my mind, I try to fill this silence, but loneliness is strange. It doesn't always scream. Sometimes it just sits beside you and says nothing at all. Maybe one day someone else will sit there. Maybe I'll stop noticing the space you left behind. Maybe memories will feel warm instead of heavy. I wanna believe that, I really do. But tonight the house is quiet again. The clock keeps moving, the world keeps moving, and I'm still learning that loving someone doesn't end just because they're gone. Some absences never leave, they just learn to live beside